Welcome to another NoteFull TOEFL video, and this one is of course in response to one of the questions that we got from you. Now, Ujwal is actually a student who's part of our free course, and what Ujwal asks is in response to one of the emails that we sent out a little while ago that provided tips on questions 1 and 2 of the speaking. So I assume if you're watching this video you want some extra help with it, whether you're struggling or not, just to master it a little bit better. And Ujwal's question is actually a fantastic one because it illustrates a common difficulty that students have. So one of our strongest tips is that you answer questions 1 and 2 honestly, because that gives you the opportunity to speak more comfortably when you express details, to give more details, because it's a memory in your head. It's really important to understand that there are so many layers to why we provide that feedback. But that doesn't mean it's always easy. And Ujwal actually asks about that, because Ujwal says that there was a question where it was, who is your favorite teacher? And Ujwal didn't have an experience with a favorite teacher. Unfortunately, there's been no teacher that has been so good to actually be in the memory of Ujwal and it stays, that's my favorite teacher. And this question is an example of other questions where you might find yourself thinking, but I don't really have an answer to this. And there are two really important concepts that I want to teach you in this video that I wrote in an email response to Ujwal, including this video. So I hope that you find this helpful, because that's the whole goal, to understand how to apply that strategy. The first tip is to understand that what you want to do is know that the question, you don't want to take the question to the extreme. You don't want to take it to the farthest extent. So what I mean by that is sometimes students, when it says, what's your favorite teacher, what's your favorite movie, what's your least favorite this or that, have a tendency to feel that you need an extreme answer, the number one best, absolutely fantastic thing, or the absolute worst thing. And you just want to have something that's on that side of the scale. And what I mean by that is, if you can't think of a favorite teacher, or if you can't think of a favorite or most anything, then you want to think of something that's good. If that's an answer that you can give, just that good thing, then you can play with it. Because what you're going to do in that case is you're going to use the next concept, which is contrasting. So again, you don't take the question to the extreme. You just think of something on that side, something that was kind of good or kind of bad. In this case, a good teacher. Not a favorite, but an okay teacher. Doesn't have to be your favorite, but somebody that you remember that was good. And then you want to think of those qualities that that teacher didn't have, the contrast, that if that teacher did have, would have been your favorite. So let's call Mr. X a good teacher, and I've never had a favorite teacher. And Mr. X is a good teacher, but wasn't my favorite, and I could probably think of a reason why. And if anything, you can say why Mr. X was a good teacher. And if Mr. X had that quality even more, then maybe Mr. X would be my favorite. I hope that makes sense. And I know it's a little bit abstract, but we're going to get into the details of it pretty soon. So I'm going to give you an example at the end of this video to kind of illustrate that a little bit better. So the next thing that I want to do is show you where this came from. This is the actual landing page, the email that we sent out talking about questions 1 and 2 of the speaking and how you can do better, and we give 3 tips. The first tip is you can have 1 reason and 2 examples. The second tip is contrasting, and that's what lays the foundation for being comfortable seeing a tough question and then knowing that you have the skills to answer. Okay, so I can't think of my favorite teacher. I can contrast with a teacher, maybe some examples of a teacher that didn't have the qualities that I wanted, and give an example of a teacher that was okay but wasn't as great as he or she could have been. And then tip number 3, stop lying. That's the excellent thing, because Ujwal knew I gotta be honest, because I know if I am, I'll do a better job. But I don't know how to be honest with this kind of question. So as a result, I'm going to ask NoteFull so that I can get an answer and continue on my path with my studies, continue to success, know what my next step is, and be confident along the process. So I want you to do the same and feel the same. Reach out to us, because we're all about making sure that you're strong. So that lays the foundation if we study the material deeply. Now the next thing that I want to tell you is that we actually have another video that we created that was Matthew, another one of our Master TOEFL instructors, who gives an example of question 1 that a student delivered that is actually contrasting in the examples. So that video is another one that can refresh and remind you of, these are different ways that I can answer the question. So make sure that you continue to review the videos that we have. You stay in touch, you subscribe to YouTube, because we're always giving out a lot of good information. So reach out to us when you have questions. And the next thing that I want to tell you is that when you do struggle, if you do have questions like this that Ujwal has, and for Ujwal, one of the things that we recommended is that Ujwal registered for 3-step speaking with review. And the reason for that is because this kind of question indicates that we're pretty good with the speaking, so we don't need, a huge program like 12-step. And 3-step speaking actually goes into an incredible degree of detail in 3 steps that allow you to not only learn, which is step 1, which is what happened with that landing page, but practice, which gives you an opportunity to run into these difficulties, and review, which is actually what's happening now, because when you answer questions and you don't quite have a clear answer, we provide feedback on how to answer those. So we talked about the 2 concepts for that question, right? When you can't think of an answer, don't take the question to extreme and be comfortable using contrast. So what I'm going to do now is give you an example, and this is what you're going to learn to be able to do when you use the program. So you've got to make sure that you have the right material. Here we go. In my view, Mr. X was a good teacher that wasn't my favorite, because I've never had a favorite, and that's for 2 reasons. The first reason is that he was good, but he wasn't always clear when answering questions. For example, I remember I met him because he was my chemistry professor at New York University, and I remember going to him in his office hours and asking him about ionic bonding. And he just got stuck on the question. He tried, but he wasn't my favorite because he didn't answer it clearly. The second reason is that he was unclear in his lectures. He tried, but again, he was unclear. For example, there was a time when we had a chapter on nuclear reactions. I really couldn't understand what he was saying. That made him, again, not my favorite teacher. All right, so I hope that answer provides you with a quick, detailed example. I didn't want to give you a perfect answer, but just a framework. So you can answer like that. You can use that as a basis to continue to study and improve off of. And now it's my favorite time, a time for us to discuss your success stories. So students who've worked hard, who've worked with NoteFull, who've done their best, and who've achieved great success. So for the first success story, we actually want to talk about Sohail C. And I hope I'm pronouncing that name correctly. But he earned a 79 on the first try of his TOEFL. And then he interacted with us. He wanted to get the highest score he could as quickly as possible. And so he registered for Complete TOEFL Mastery, which is our most powerful program, which you'll find on our website. And also ESL Power, which is what we've created to help students improve their academic English when they score close to a 75 on the TOEFL, because that means usually that you need some better basic English skills to make sure that you exceed your expectations, that you get your score as quickly as possible, besides just TOEFL training. And the wonderful thing is on the second try, he earned a 93, and that was sufficient for him with his hard work and his focus and his determination. So it's not that easy to improve 14 points. It's a huge jump. So we congratulate him, and he stated that there were tears rolling down his eyes. And we don't like to hear that, but we like to hear the emotion, the fact that we know that some of you just need to kind of get your score and move on, and others are really struggling in a challenging time of your life and really trying to succeed, going into a new area. And so I want you to know that whatever frustration or difficulty you're having, whatever's going on, whether it be easy or hard, you're on the right track. Continue to stay in touch with us, work with us. Click on the link below this video to visit the website and to find a way to interact with us and get the help you need. The second story comes from Tony B. And Tony, he earned a 119. So he was 1 point away from a perfect TOEFL score. And we love this because he studied with NoteFull's free TOEFL course only for about 1 week. And then after a week of preparation, he earned that score. He earned a 30 in the reading, listening, and speaking with a 29 in the writing. Now, these 2 success stories are excellent to pair next to each other because I want you to remember that everyone's coming from a different level of skill. Some of us have had just a little bit of experience with English, maybe 1 or 2 years. Others have studied, 4 or 5 years, some 10 years. We all have different levels, and we just need that structure and that fundamental understanding that's specific to us. And so what I want you to know is that whatever you study with NoteFull, you're studying the material that's going to help you earn all the way to a perfect score. Remember, each of our instructors, including myself, and many of our students have earned perfect scores. So I just want you to continue to have faith in what you're studying and know that you're on the right track. So we thank both of these students for sharing and all the other students who share. We hope that you were inspired. We want you to know to study hard, stay in touch, and don't forget to post your success stories because we love to mention them in the next video. So good luck, and we'll see you next time.